Hello, welcome to another weekly update. Busy week again this week. Busy day today. I mean, today started for me at like 4:30 in the morning, so definitely feeling it now. It's nearly 12 hours later, and got another kind of 6 hours to go probably. So yeah, it should be interesting. I can't blame anyone. It's just kind of woke up full of beans. Well, not quite full of beans, but like woke up and couldn't get back to sleep and thought, actually, I might as well get up and get some work done whilst it's quiet. So it's actually a good time to do some things that, you know, maybe a little bit disruptive, publish some things, test some things out when no one's around. So so did some of that. That was good. So been a busy day on the end of a busy week. And it is starting to get busier for conferencing and for the community. We've got a number of conferences ramping up this year and lots and lots of content happening and lots of things going on as well. Microsoft obviously have got their conference next week, Microsoft Build. We're going to talk through some of that as well. Lots and lots of things going on. So start of the week, I did a YouTube video all about Commsverse, and this is a UK conference. It's all about Microsoft Teams, and it's coming in September, I want to say. And I just wanted to put together a little video because actually the organisers of Commsverse have really thought through like how people would want a in-person conference right now, and that isn't packing loads of people into a room. It is having a hybrid event so people can pick and choose whether they do in person or online. It is having a nice event. It is having really good speakers. It is having great session content, and it is keeping the price low. Like lots and lots of things to kind of appeal to everyone, I think. And so I wanted to just put together some reasons why I thought it was worthwhile people considering Commsverse. So if you're in the UK and you haven't heard about it, go check out Commsverse. Check out the video I did. I'll put a link in the description. And get registered, get signed up, because they really need your support right now. It's pretty tough for conference organisers right now, trying to plan, trying to kind of figure stuff out. It's always hard. It's hard running a conference at the best of times, but at the moment, especially. All right. Talking of things that are coming up and conference events and things like that, I do want to tell you about this. This is a blog post I did earlier this week as well, which is a new workshop that's coming out soon. I'll say soon, October. It'll be here before you know it. A new workshop, and it's called Hands-On with Microsoft Teams App Templates. And so the kind of clues in the title, we're going to be talking about app templates, but it's going to be a developer-focused session. And I'm going to be running it with Stuart Ridout from Microsoft. And Stuart's great, like really knowledgeable, does lots of things in the community, lots of speaking events. And we chatted it through and thought, actually, what would be really good would be to split the day into two. So it's a full day workshop, and we're going to split it kind of into two. And in the first half, we're going to look through deploying and configuring the app template. So if you've never done anything with app templates, or you're not really a developer, this would be good for you, because we're just going to kind of go through how it works, how you get it deployed, how you configure it, how you set it up. But then in the second half of the day, we really want to appeal to developers. So we're going to look through how you break open those app templates, because they're all open source and they're all in GitHub, and how you might extend it, how you might add some new features as well. So we're going to do some of that with the company communicator app, which is a super popular app right now for app templates. So that sounds, it's going to be very interactive as well. So what we've said is, please, bring your laptop, bring some credentials for a tenant that you have some control over, so that we can deploy this stuff, we can configure it, get it working. Ideally, this would be in your production tenant, but we understand if that's not possible. If it's like a test tenant or something like that, we can use instead. But the idea is you kind of come away from the day with something working that you didn't have before, and a really good understanding of how you might extend it and configure it further. So that is happening October 15th, again in the UK. It is currently an in-person event. That's completely the plan. We really want to make it an in-person event. It's happening as part of South Coast Summit, which is in Southampton, which is not actually a million miles from where I grew up, so kind of nice. And there are kind of fallback plans if it has to go online, but we're really hoping that this can be an in-person event as well as Commsverse. So those things are happening in the UK. It's going to be busy end to the year in the UK for conferences. Other things. All right, so this is nothing to do with I'll flip the order of these around. I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about it at the end. So let's talk about the next thing. So because we've been talking about conferences and how it's going to be busy this year. We've got Microsoft Build next week as well. So that's going to add another 3 days of fun and sessions. And I did a little video and a blog post. Let me share my screen so you can see what I'm seeing. I did this yesterday, maybe. Yeah, it was yesterday. And I just wanted to go through the sessions that I think are interesting. And so in the video, I just go through the session builder, how I use the session builder, and how I search for sessions, and then just look through the sessions that I've got in my backpack. And I've listed them out on there for you as well. So this is a list of sessions that I think are interesting at Build, and not to say there aren't other interesting sessions. Of course there are. It's just I was looking through. They're the ones that appealed to me, kind of coming from that Microsoft Teams developer background, that kind of thing. There's some low code stuff in there as well. There's some pro code stuff. There's some not quite Teams development. There's some kind of tangential Windows development stuff in there as well. Yeah, there's some interesting things all around, I think. So yeah, looking forward to what Build holds. And any kind of watching the keynote as well. I'll try and kind of do the keynote on Twitter, so like any as it happens reactions, and then maybe I'll try and do like a reaction video as well, just kind of initial thoughts and stuff like that, because it's always kind of food for thought, these keynotes, especially at the moment. We've kind of changed how we do keynotes, and they're much shorter now because it's virtual, and they kind of pack a lot more in, and you're kind of left with lots of things to think about, really. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile doing something to kind of recognize that. All right, and there is just one more thing I think I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to try and keep it relatively short this week. And this is kind of a bit meta, but it's a blog post that I put on Twitter that I was getting ready to give a session for Teams Nation last week, and it was quite a complicated setup I had going on, and because I wanted to do some demos in the presentation, and the demos involved like using Microsoft Teams, but the whole presentation was being delivered through Microsoft Teams. And that's usually is a bit of a recipe for a disaster, because you can't kind of join another Teams call whilst you're presenting on a Teams call. So I had some workarounds for that, using multiple machines and feeding it all through OBS and different scenes. And then I'd made some audio changes and all these kind of things. So I kind of tweeted beforehand, just before the session started, and I was just doing all my tech checks and everything. I kind of tweeted out that like this should really be a blog post, this setup, and it got quite a number of likes and stuff. So I thought actually I will write it up as a blog post, because you never know, people might be interested in that sort of stuff. So this is the blog post I put together. It's kind of 3 tips, and this isn't really meant to be a like how to use OBS to do presentations, because there's loads and loads of blog posts like that already. I'm about 18 months too late to put all that content together, but there's some links. This is basically the journey I went on. I picked up on the idea of OBS from Scott Hanselman's post, so I put a link to his blog post in there, and then I went through these iterations of like this screen sharing, this setup that we have going on right now. Took me a little while to figure out how to do an OBS, so I wanted to kind of talk through how I did that. And I've made some changes to audio. I spoke about those a couple of weeks ago, but I really wanted to reference the videos that were really useful to me in figuring out how to set up OBS for good audio. So I really wanted to do that. So that's what these 2 videos are, with some kind of instructions for like, watch this one but don't make any changes, then watch this one and do exactly everything this person says, like religiously. And then finally, I wanted to go through this double machine setup I had going on with an HDMI capture card, and just kind of talk it all through, because I think that might be useful for people giving demos. Lots of people at the moment are doing remote presentations, and they want to involve demos, and those often involve joining Teams meetings, and that can be tricky, and you can use virtual machines. It gets complicated if you want to do video and stuff, because like virtual machines, Microsoft Teams requires real USB video devices, and that's hard over virtual machines, and so it gets complicated quite quickly. So if you've got a spare machine lying around that does HDMI out, then you could have a look at one of these HDMI capture cards. It worked for me. It was quite a neat solution, and OBS did a good job of tying it all together and making it look good. So yeah, it was a nice setup that I quite liked. One of the interesting things about Build actually is that I will be watching Build kind of for the content, but also for the presentational setup, like the tips not the tips and tricks they give out, but like subtly just watching how presenters present content. Are they using OBS? Are they using something else? Because the really good presenters have got this stuff nailed now. They're not just using the stock, I'm just going to share my screen, I'm just going to use my laptop mic and speakers. They've got like really nice setups going on, and they're not necessarily expensive. They've got all the hacks going on, and they know what's going on. People like Scott Hanselman, you kind of watch his presentation, especially from like Last Ignite. Go and watch that presentation. It's full of little tips and tricks of wizardry of like, oh, that's neat, that keeps people engaged, that's a slick kind of setup in OBS, that's a nice scene change, I like the layout. Those kind of things are worth looking at and kind of just picking up tips for your next presentation as well. And if you don't do presentations, just your next meeting, your next Teams meeting, make it more interesting, make it more fun. It's always more fun if you're in a Teams meeting on video and you suddenly want to show something on the screen and you don't want to kind of break up the flow of the conversation and be like, let's wait for me to share my screen, do all that kind of stuff. You can just go ding straight into the screen and boom, straight back again. And that's really nice. And it keeps people engaged as well. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Yes, you're going to hear more of me next week because of Build. I'm going to try and kind of put some stuff together for that. So yeah, look out for that. And then this time next week, I'm sure we'll have a big kind of Build roundup, Build-a-palooza or whatever. All right, have a great weekend. Obviously need more sleep, I think. It's like sleep deprived update from me. But yeah, just seems to make me just talk faster and faster. Anyway, have a great weekend, whatever it is you're doing. And I will talk to you again next time.